Hello, hello. We're live again, and it's been a while, a few months before we made our last stream. And this comeback stream is a little bit interesting because we're gonna start with some testing out some pretty interesting projects. In this case, it's Intuitia. I don't know if I pronounced that right. So basically, whenever you are migrating new dependencies or making breaking changes on our frameworks and libraries that we use, they have a public collection of code mods that you can just click and run and apply to your projects. And it's pretty intuitive and easy to use, but I'll introduce the Intuitia theme so they can explain better what they do. So
hey everyone.
Here they are.
Hello. Hey Greg.
Hello.
All right.
So can you explain a little bit more about? Did I spell it right? Intuitia? How?
Intuita.
Intuita. Okay.
Yeah. So
I can pronounce it more in Spanish, like Intuita.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome.
So quick intro about myself. I'm the founder and CEO of Intuita, ex-Facebooker. We're building a software evolution platform to help teams do their upgrades and large scale code evolution faster and easier. We had similar solutions at Facebook. It was called CodeMod, and we want to build similar solutions for the rest of the world. Yeah, so one framework at a time. We do we automate code upgrades. We're starting with Next.js, and soon we'll move on to more and more frameworks. Yeah.
Awesome. And what's the initial idea? What made you like start into it? What made
Yeah.
you? What was the aha moment?
Yeah. So there are so many aha moments that I have during my time, 6 years of building tools and platforms for 70 plus engineering teams. Um, I don't know which one should I talk about. There are, it was kind of I can share a very quick story with you
Sure.
if you're interested. It was kind of a Saturday night, and I was on call, and Mark Zuckerberg was going in front of Congress in a few days, and they wanted me to set up a system to review thousands of ads. And it was stressful as hell because what they asked me normally took weeks. So I scrambled to come up with a solution, and I found this script that I could run. And with that script, and within a few hours, I was able to come up with a hacky solution and get the job done. You record, like execs are impressed. I was the hero who made this impossible possible, but in reality, I was just standing on the shoulders of giants who built these infrastructure ahead of me. And that magical moment and many more that I come across with throughout my tenure, build this passion and this desire for me to build similar tools for the rest of the world. Because if you think about it, with the rise of generative AI, in a few years, thousands of companies' code base are going to be as big as what we have at Facebook and Google today. And even the smallest changes that you want to make in your code base requires a dedicated and special infrastructure for those kind of evolutions. And that's why we're building Intuita to help with software evolution in code bases of any size.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, software is any product is constantly evolving, and also the frameworks are constantly evolving. And there are some repetitive changes that every single code base that uses this framework has to do.
Exactly.
And you're finding a way to ease that pain for every single one because they're pretty predictable, they're repeatable, but
Exactly.
still one has to manually do all those things.
Totally. Yeah, the process that, for example, today you're going through is something that hundreds of thousands of developers in Next.js, they will go through as well. And it just doesn't make sense. You want to wrap up this upgrade as soon as possible and get back in building Cal.com for the world. You don't want to spend weeks and weeks and put development on pause because now there's a new technology that you want to adopt.
Yeah.
And we want to break down these steps into smaller pieces and automate the hell out of it.
Yeah, totally
That's
agree.
kind of the goal here.
And right now, I only seen like examples for upgrades and remove deprecated code. But now that I think of it, what are your thoughts about migrating from library A to library B? Is that something you also have to in mind?
Of course. So we start with maximal impact, minimal effort. We're going to start with open source upgrades, but soon after, we're going to do framework upgrade, and after that we're focusing on transient evolution for internal changes that people want to make in their code bases.
Mhm.
These are all different subcategories of software evolution.
Yeah, I mean, I asked because we have many cases where okay, maybe one library reached end of life recently. Well, not recently, like a year ago, we had this situation where we had to replace Moment.js, a very popular date formatting and handling tool, and we moved to Day.js, and the migration was not very straightforward. It had a lot of queries. We had to do some
Mhm.
stuff. So I think that's a good example on where I see a lot of value in tools like Intuita,
Mhm.
that maybe a script that can migrate Moment.js to Day.js, or even another library that is pretty popular and emerging. And also,
Exactly.
as a PR movement, maybe a new library is around the block, so they can come up with a code mode, so they
Mhm.
can
Yeah,
migrate the old one to the new one, and share it
exactly.
with Intuita, and make the adoption more easy for those new
Absolutely.
libraries.
So we're building Code Mod Studio to make the process of creating these code mods as easy and fast as possible. The goal is that you provide a bunch of before and after code snippets, examples, and we instantly help you to create these code mods. And we have a visual code mod builder, and we have also support from LLM to create these code mods. Of course, uh, we, we are kind of making progress over time. Our focus right now is to build the infrastructure and delightful user experience so we can deploy the existing code mods. And once we get to the later stage of the company, we're going to invest more and more in the code mod studio to increase its maturity. Yeah, we are going to have, so we already have this public registry of code mods where we want to empower the whole world to contribute to this pool of code mods. And with our extension, and you're going to kind of demo it, we're going to distribute these code mods to the world. So it's going to look like over the air updates. You install the extension, every time that you come to it, you say, oh, I can do this upgrade, I can do that upgrade, and more in the future. Uh,
Right.
yeah.
Sounds pretty awesome. So, about what are we doing today specifically? So I had a little previous deep dive on the actual application. I haven't seen the Code Mod Studio yet, but I think the goal for this stream, we're gonna try to migrate a certain part of our dashboard
Mhm.
uh, into the new app directory, and that includes making some prep work about the certain routes that we want to migrate, and it's like a foundation layer, so we can later on migrate the rest of the application. So this is like a first. We I mean, Next.js has been making a lot of changes,
Mhm.
and with the new app folder, there's a lot of cool new stuff that we haven't been able to test yet. We made like small experiments, but other than that, nothing production ready. So we're trying to take this first step with the help of Intuita in this case. So you want to talk about a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I'm just very excited about it. Just want to add, automations is like um, auto, uh, autopilot kind of mode in Tesla. It's like assistive. As you're doing this upgrade, these code mods, we have kind of two type of code mods: assistive code mods and fully autonomous code mods, where you can make some changes and ship things. But today you're going to have some assistive code mods where it helps you with the bulk of the work, and you still need to do some manual work to make the changes shippable and actually send a PR. Um, yeah, so that's what I have to share. I think it's a good time. There's a lot to cover today, and I let you guys to take it from here, and Greg can answer your more technical questions about the product, about the code mods, and the migration process. And I think Max is going. I don't know if Max is already on the call, or is he joining us soon? But
I think he's not yet.
he's not here, but he will be there. And in case there are any technical questions about Next.js, he would be able to help us.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
I think we can just dive into it now.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. So first thing, I'm gonna create a new branch there. Okay. So so far, I think we have this you right. I just
do you want
recently
to verify if you have the latest version of the extension?
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Extensions. We have here. So I think we do have. Is this the latest one?
I can verify it, but I think so.
Okay, all extensions.
It seems that it's correct.
Updated.
Can you check the package JSON of your project, by the way?
Right. Go check the.
We need to go. I think it's web, right? Yeah. Because
you mean the
because your Cal.com project has, I think, 4 apps in the monorepo, and there is an important dependency that we need to verify. This is a dependency over Next.js. It should be in version 13.4.
We're on the 13.
Okay, so the change to 13, I think, because the latest version, the last time I checked, was 13.4.2.
Yeah.
And I think you are working also on upgrading this to version 13.4.
Yeah, I think we do have an open PR about that.
Yeah.
Just.
But I wonder if it's merged.
Yeah, this is the one.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's safe to basically branch out of this branch?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, because then I assume that we'll run into fewer prompts.
Okay, let me just see a little bit why. What's the summary here? So
for the viewers, in general, version 13 of Next.js already contains the functionality known as the app.dir, or app router, actually. And this is a completely new way of thinking how Next.js apps should work. Namely, because it supports, it introduces this client component versus server component boundary. And it basically makes the pages directory way simpler to implement. Actually, you cannot. You can partially implement the changes from the version 13 already in the pages directory, but in order to get the full app browser experience, you need to move to the app directory. And the code in the app directory is much easier to grasp, I think.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so I branched from the upgrade one, so we are now working on the Next.js 13.4.
Yeah.
Just verify here. Yeah, we are here.
Awesome.
So from this point forward, we can just start running the code mods.
Hang on, you're in the web app?
Yes,
Or...
the
Okay.
web app, yes.
Okay, so actually we did not test it on the web app, but let's see how it works, because we mostly tested on direct on the operating systems. But I mean, I think the experience should be similar, so we'll just see.
Okay, so I should run it using this relative path, right?
Correct. So yeah, so the idea is that you need to pick a code mod, and then you need to pick a path that it runs on. And if you have a huge project, then it's probably not worth it to run it over an entire, how would you call it, the entire workspace, because it will just take too much time.
So should we try this first, or should we do it on?
We can show it. It's like showcase how it actually, like, what's the experience of the product.
Okay, yeah, we can showcase it right around here. So can you explain what's happening here?
Okay, so we have created something called replace next router code mod. So this is a TS morph code mod, and TS morph is basically well, I would call it a library. It's more like a technology. So basically, every time you use TypeScript, what happens? You use TSC, which is the TypeScript compiler, and what TS morph leverages is basically the API of that compiler. Normally, when should I introduce basically the concept of AST? I think that will be also important for the viewers. I think this wasn't introduced yet. So this is something that we would probably learn at the university. But when a compiler sees your code, as in when it sees text files, it just doesn't really process the text itself. It needs to parse the source code. And the result of that parsing is AST or CST. The first one is AST, which is the abstract syntax tree. The other one is CST, which is the concrete syntax tree. The difference between them is that the abstract syntax tree contains nodes, or may contain nodes that in that tree that are not really present. So for instance, in case of TypeScript, you have some node for import declarations that you usually have on top of your file, but then for TypeScript, in order to have bare API that can deal with those imports, all those imports are usually, or actually all the top level expressions are usually grouped into something called syntax list. So this is something that doesn't really exist in terms of the tokens. So now this code that we created, what it does, it looks for the usages of use router hook, and then tracks down where it's used and what kind of particular methods or properties of the created router, where they are and what they do. And based on that, it basically replaces those usages, not to use next/route, like not to use the import from next/router, because that's actually deprecated, or maybe it's not deprecated, it just doesn't work in the app directory. But now in the app directory, you should use the use router from next navigation. And actually, if you go to the official upgrade guide by Versal, there is like a huge list of things that you need to change. So it's not only about renaming some APIs. It's basically a completely new philosophy of how navigation should work. So for instance,
is just a question there.
Sure.
Is Next navigation backwards compatible with router itself?
And that's interesting. So there are I would say two caveats. So I would say it's not. It has a similar set of features, but first of all, navigate locales and all those default locale parameters that actually I should call it properties of the router object are no longer available. Same as with, for instance, as path. They are just gone.
I see.
And the compatibility part is actually tricky because we can run this code mod in the pages directory, and you can replace all the usages of this next/router router to the next/navigation router, and this should work as long as your code is compatible with the new philosophy. So actually, the Vercel team did a fantastic work to ease the upgrade. So actually, you don't need to migrate to the app directory to see or try to reap the benefits of this new way of thinking. The only difference is that there are, I think, 3 or 4 hooks right now. One is use router, the other is use search params, and the other is use path name. And the obviously the 2 hooks that I just mentioned, the use search params and use path name, are new hooks. And in the pages directory, there might be nullable as they will be nullable as until the router comes to be, when it initializes. And because this was the case with pages, right? That you would normally wait if the router is ready. But if you check the code mod, actually right now we have no is ready. There is no is ready property on the router level anymore.
Okay.
In the next navigation router. So as you can see, in order to actually do the migration correctly, you need to read the docs, which actually takes some time, and you need to apply them correctly. So what this code mod does is basically it tries to be smart about it. And what's the magic of TS morph, which is, for instance, not applicable to JS CodeShift code mods, because I think some people that have worked with code mods have heard of JS CodeShift. So JS CodeShift is a very old library maintained by Facebook, which deals with AST. So it can parse AST from JavaScript or TypeScript using Babel or Babel, depending on how you pronounce it. And what's interesting about this technology, it doesn't follow really the flow of variables. You cannot say that, okay, we have a route or variable declared, tell me what are the references to that variables, to that variable. You can't really programmatically ask JS CodeShift to figure out this for you, because this is not really part of AST. This is solved by the compiler itself at some point. Compiler will figure out it from the AST, but it's just kind of a layer above that. However, if you use tsmorph, there's another feature of the TypeScript compiler, which is called the TypeScript language server. And this is actually the functionality that when you type something in your code editor and you make a mistake, you immediately get some syntax errors. And this is because, in this case, your VS Code has a connection to that language server, and it just basically it emits the updates to that, or actually sends the updates of the code base to that server, and then the language server emits what is wrong, if there is anything wrong, right? So tsmorph also leverages that mechanism. And there is another great tool done by Airbnb, which is tsmigrate, and it also leverages that language server as well. So yeah, this is a very powerful technology that I think so far hasn't been, maybe it has been publicly spoken about. But yeah, I think our colleague might join.
Yeah, Max just joined, so I'm gonna hop him over.
Awesome.
Hey Max,
Hello.
welcome.
Oh,
Hello.
sorry for my lateness. Happy to be here.
So yeah, we were just talking a little bit about the how Intuitia works in this context specifically for Next.js. How migration is not as straightforward as one would expect, and well, you just testing a dry run and see how it goes.
Absolutely. As for can you expand on why you think the migration isn't as straightforward as you would expect?
I mean, since this is not like a simple upgrade, it's more like, as Greg said before, like a change of philosophy. So you want
Yes,
to
understood.
adopt this new kind of way of doing things, and you need to make some significant changes. It's not like you can just like, okay, just upgrade, and it. I mean, it is done in a way that you can adapt it incrementally, which is nice. But I I'm seeing here by this run is like doing. If I have to do this manually, it would be like a very big pain to actually get this done. But yeah, I'm impressed so far.
Yeah, I think that's why we're excited about the code mods, because the migrations for a simpler site are very straightforward, I think. But with something like Cal.com, where you have a lot of features that are kind of specific to you and not using the framework so much, but they're built around, maybe hacked around the framework even. Now all those things should be possible without them, but it definitely is a paradigm shift to make them work with the framework instead of trying to trying to write it yourself. But yeah, it's Intuita with the code mods should hopefully make the manual process much less for you.
Yeah, it does. It does feel like black magic here.
I think the idea here is that, I mean, there is probably not a technology that can guarantee that all is migrated correctly, right? But
Yeah,
actually, most code, I mean, that's a stretch, but code in this regard just follows some overall principles. So we can theorize that by knowing what kind, like in which way people use, for instance, the router object, we can easily target those use cases. For instance, write tests for the for the code mod, and then just ship the updates that actually deliver what's available on the screen right now. But yeah, I think in general, figuring out how, I mean, it's more like this code mod is actually pretty long. I think it's over 700 lines, and it uses tsmorph, but it's still manageable, even though that we are dealing with ASTs, which is already something that requires certain knowledge. It's something that people that have some experience with it could write on its own. And as Alex mentioned before, with the Code Mod Studio, we actually want to make this process even easier for people to understand. But I expect people that have worked as software engineers, especially if they have background in computer science and they had classes regarding the compiler theory, they should grasp it quite easily.
yeah, that's awesome. And so going back here to the dry run we just made, I mean, so far looks fine. I don't see any major issues. So this is a dry run. I see that you can actually save like a history of dry runs. There's a question in the chat though. Alex is saying, for this code mod dry run specifically, I'm curious how use effect and also router is ready to affect the code flow.
I can answer the second part of that pretty easily. The router is true change, is a work in progress. That will soon be changing, in that this is one of those areas where we can't verify the code is going to be 100% correct. There's a lot of ways you might be using use effect, but router.isReady does not exist in app. There is no concept of the router waiting now if you're only in the app directory using the app router. So This way, your code is fundamentally going to be the same thing. That value won't be changing now. But ideally, what the code mods will eventually be able to do is leave comments or like to-dos, and you'll be able to track those so you can manually find the areas the code mod made a best guess effort, so you can go in and make the right choice about how this code should function.
Also, I think there is something that we've already considered, that every router that is ready use case can be replaced with possibly a nullability check over path name or search params.
But that will only be possible while there's a pages directory.
Yes, correct. So if you are like in the app directory, this makes like router always exists, and it
yes. So this is one of the cool things that the code mods help with, and one of the things that Next.js does well with migrations is if you have a pages in an app directory, then the types get automatically updated, so the new hooks from Next Navigation can be used correctly in both pages and app. So replacing router is ready, the new hooks from Next Navigation, like use path name, will just return null. So that will be a better check while you're doing an incremental migration. And then once you are fully migrated, the idea is the types will get updated, and TSC will tell you, or ESLint will tell you, hey, we can auto get rid of this nullability check. But then you'll still be kind of left with this true value being left in the effect array, and you as a developer will likely have to fix that.
Yeah, makes sense. So, I mean, we do use isReady in a little bit of places, 20 files to be exact. But I don't think it should be like too tedious.
No, so yeah, all these examples look like they should be pretty easy to replace or just completely remove in general, as they won't be necessary anymore.
Actually, this is a perfect use case. Like the search that you're making right now to show how code mods are powerful. Because right now, what you are doing is essentially grabbing over the entire code base for is ready, but there is like, you cannot provide any information of the context of is ready. You can provide if this is, for instance, a property access that you're looking for, which would be, for instance, router.isReady, or is it oh, thank you, Emerson. Or you can really change if you are targeting the isReady variable name, right? Which in the lingo of TypeScript compiler would be probably called initializer or identifier. So as you can see with code mods, we can target, if we have enough data, obviously. If we have more than just AST, we can target specific cases. Or already with AST, we can do that, but with TSMore, we can be very, very specific about what we're looking for, and then we can easily change it.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, all by search and replace is not that really reliable. You depend a lot on variable names, and yeah, even though it gets you like 80% all the way, but there's also some caveats that you need to be very careful about, not replacing.
Yeah. Also, if you were looking for an object, then your search is very much dependent on formatting. And for a compiler, formatting is, like compilers do not really care about formatting and about comments. So it's interesting because they call it trivia. So if you go to the documentation of how compilers work in general, all the comments and all the white spaces are put into a very separate category of tokens called trivia. So yeah, I mean, if someone is interested in that, you should consult the documentation of whatever compiler you're using. But I thought this was cool to add.
So right now, this is a dry run. We are not actually applying code changes yet. So can we just apply them now and see how it goes?
Sure.
Right, so let's apply those changes.
And I think there is a fundamental thing that we should discuss here, which is formatting. As you can see, the formatting is slightly off right now. I don't know if you want to run yarn format, because you have a command like this. And I will explain in the meanwhile why formatting is off. So basically, compilers, as I mentioned before, do not care about formatting. And the compiler API is created to either transpile, in this case, TypeScript to JavaScript of whatever version you like, or to gather information about data structures and types. So those are the two major, things that the compiler API is actually built for, not really formatting or reformatting. The other thing is that in TypeScript, unlike, for instance, Python, there is no single convention about code style. And if there is none, then there is multitude of tools. Like there's a lot of tools that are suitable for formatting the code. Most people right now probably use a mix of ESLint for actually just linting the code and seeing if there are no structural problems, and then they apply Prettier. However, Prettier has one caveat: they don't deal with lines, really. And this was actually when we were working on a pull request for Cal.com earlier, we saw that tsmorph would basically remove the lines when it was reprinting the changed file. And the reason for that is that for TypeScript compiler, if you don't provide enough insight, like it just does not really care about those lines, because it's just not relevant for a compiler. So those lines need to be actually maintained, which we achieved with a small trick. But yeah, in regards to the formatting in general, it only, like, you need to have a very specific formatting rules set in place. So whatever you do with your code, it should always end up with a format that you wanted it to be in. And I understand why most people or most companies wouldn't do that, because sometimes you're not able to quantify what are your rules, like when to do breaks. It's just easier probably to use Prettier and trust that their way of thinking is correct. But Prettier won't change every single character in your code, which is very important to grasp. So that was about the format. So I didn't know how the formatter worked in your case. Was it satisfactory for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit strict in the case, so yeah, I don't see any issues. I do find some quirks. For example, I just found this small thing. Like right here, the previous code was getting
Yeah.
all the queries, but slug. So we're trying to ignore slug and forward the rest of them. And here the code mod interpreted like, okay, I'm getting the slug query named slug, which is correct, but also is trying to get a query that doesn't exist. So I just, I mean, it's expected. I mean, I haven't took a deep dive on the next migration doc, so I really don't know what will be like the equivalent code to achieve the same result.
Yeah, so basically the change is that router.query used to be an object.
Yeah.
And now it's basically read-only URL search params. So it's essentially a read-only map. So here, since we cannot have so we are basically forwarding all the query params minus slag. So I would assume we can just make a copy of search params using the URL search params object, which should be globally
It is.
available, right? And then we remove slag from it. That will be the most straightforward solution, I think.
So just make a copy of this, like.
You can use like entries, and you could spread it to an array, and you can make a
Oh,
new
yeah.
search params. There's a few ways to do it.
Yeah.
What do
But
we
yeah,
see
this
with-
really comes down to like, now you're not given this special Next.js router object. You're just given a platform primitive, and any tricks you normally would use on a URL search params would work here.
Also, one thing that's important here, actually for the search params, because it's a URL search params object, there are two properties, two methods actually. One's called get, and the other is called get all. So as you probably have all checked the URLs of your websites from time to time, you can actually pass multiple parameters that share the same key. And yeah, it's actually smart to see if you have multiple, if whatever is incoming to your app actually has multiple values. So I think that's important to mention here.
All right. We had a question from Sean. He's asking, does TS Morph take into account TS ignores?
Okay, that's a good one. Okay, it's a interesting question.
I don't believe it does. I'm kind of curious about why you would want it to. Like, yes, you might want to catch it in the dry run, but you know, if your TS ignoring something that's going to become an error, you just won't catch the error now if the code gets changed.
Yes, but also TS ignore cannot ignore wrong syntax, right? So it will only ignore the code, like the types, but the syntax needs to be correct. So I would just assume, this requires verification, that tsmorph will be able to parse the file. And actually, I think TS compiler actually is a fuzzy parser, which means that it has some acceptance for errors, like JavaScript does. But yeah, I think the behavior will have to be definitely checked if you rely on TS ignore. And yeah, I will not judge if you use TS ignore or not. I try not to, unless it's tests. But yeah.
Cool. I hope that answers it. One thing I was also meaning to ask here. Let's see. What's the ASPAT is not on the new router, right? So
yeah,
is there any value differences between the path name in the previous ASPAT, or is not a one-to-one replacement?
I believe it is a one-to-one replacement because now the dynamic slugs are not included in the URL anywhere, which you might have used like as an href for. That's not required for link, because now in the new router, if you use path name, you will always get the what's actually in the URL. And if you want the segment or page that's rendering, you would use selected layout segment.
I think ASPath is kind of safe. Basepath though is not. I think you just need to copy the constant from your next config. Am I right?
Yeah, basepath is still supported.
But is it supported from the router, or is it gonna be removed soon? Because I think you should already move it to the constant if you use that.
I'm not entirely sure on that.
Okay.
I'm not. The docs probably mention it.
All right. What else? Yeah, I'm just taking a quick glance here about the changes. Other than that pattern that we use, I don't see any problems really.
you might want to verify all usages of ... object.entries, because actually this is, I would say this is a change that is maybe not, like you can code mod this particular usage of, because I mean, if you, for instance, you have these filters, actually you're focus on some place else, but the point is that if you want to destruct search params, or in before it was router.query, you cannot just ... URL search params, right? Because it's a map. So you need to actually somehow reduce it to something that can be dotable. I don't know if it's even an expression in English, but yeah, you get my point. So you need to probably use object.fromEntries, and there's this caveat that search params might be nullable depending if you're in the pages directory or the app directory. So that's why I use this double question mark new URL search params constructor when I was adding this code, like adding this specific case to the code mod. But yeah, we cannot really predict every consumer of that particular expression. So sometimes ... will work, sometimes you actually need to remove it. So but this is something that if you have TypeScript, should be, obvious to the TypeScript compiler whether it works or not, which is again a huge, like I think TypeScript on its own is a huge added value compared to vanilla JavaScript, because otherwise you just have to hopefully not run into this back on production.
Yeah, that clears it up. Also, I think here I don't have actually the search params here. The command is adding the.
Perhaps it was removed.
Or I just removed the router, but it didn't replace with use search param.
Yeah, that could have happened.
I think this was, I believe, Greg, this could have been because it thought it was in an app page and it would have added it to the prompts.
Could have been. Or actually there's, because you used the formatter, so maybe actually it was not, either it was not defined or it was not used, and it was removed. So yeah, actually, using formatters might not be that. I mean, you need to know what formatters do, because yeah, they can remove properties that are not used. I think here query schema will just allow object from entries without ... Yeah, because we don't need to copy it, so we can remove that triple dot at the beginning, right? And then the type of query would be, I guess, just an object, which can just fit the query schema dot parse.
So that is inside.
Yeah.
Hey Pierre, welcome to the stream.
Hello. Okay, this looks, I mean, if the query schema.parse works and it accepts this object, then it's we're good.
So search params might be, I mean,
might be nullable in the pages directory, yes. Okay, I think so the types should also, I think, Max, the types already should...
You need to, if you haven't run pnpm next with the app director, if you haven't run pnpm dev, the types won't have been updated. That could be why. Or not pnpm, next dev.
Well, should we try running the app?
Sure.
I mean, there's still some broken code somewhere, but we can try. Yeah, we do have some undefined
Seems like the
routers
import was missed.
Yeah, or it was
in
just.
there.
Yeah, I think it could have been removed by yarn format because yeah, something was unused and it just removed whatever was unused.
So I think it was some app providers.
Did it return all the errors or just the first one that it finds?
And I think when you're running the dev
Just the
server,
first,
just the
Yeah,
first one.
yeah.
but TSC might complain about the others.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
just type check and see everything.
Fingers crossed.
There are gonna be a little quite errors.
Okay, just 7 errors.
All right, so we have 7 errors, not so many. So this is the ASPAD. We're not using it anymore.
Yeah, it seems like we missed
And-
that change.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, but
that's the best part. I think yeah, the covenant doesn't work with functions. So if at least right now, because
Yeah.
we just thought that this is a we don't have that much information if this is a common use case. But if you pass a router somewhere else, then yeah, we don't track it.
yeah, makes sense.
So yeah, you need to. I think the type.
The type is correct.
Yeah, the type has changed. Yes, so we changed the type definition. But yeah, this is then there is no aspath, so you need to pass path name, which is a string or a null.
From use path name.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
you need
makes
to add a new parameter to your goto function.
Okay, so but also we are pushing. So should we receive? I mean, router push does exist, right? Search params as well. So we need a new one.
So you need a new one. And I think, long-term refactoring wise, the idea is that this could be a hook. And then you could just call the hooks from inside it instead of having to pass them in as parameters.
Yeah. Okay, I'm seeing here. Basically, do the path name return the with queries and all?
No.
No.
Well, in this case, this won't work.
So
But you're passing in
does goto-
separately the search params. So I'm confused about why.
What this goto actually tries to achieve? Maybe it's just simpler right now.
Yeah, basically it's just go to router and embed type. So this is like a search params, but
So in the new version, we cannot modify search params directly, right? So we need to router.push or router.replace. So that's the first thing. And also there is no shallow argument anymore. And the second argument, which is right now undefined, also doesn't exist. It's just one string. So I would assume in order to push anywhere, we need to have the path name and we need to have the query that we can stringify. So so maybe you can change search params into read-only URL search params as a type. Yeah. Yeah, you already have it. Yeah, correct. So now what we need to do, we are just going to. It's basically gonna be. I don't think you need to copy it.
You do, because it's a read-only search params.
okay. So
But you want to add something to it, right? In that goto.
So yeah, it will receive a. So yeah, there's. Okay, this is not it. we need an old search params and we need some new search params.
Okay,
right?
so you actually want to have a fourth parameter, which is the object that changes the search params, right? Then we're good to go, I think.
So should we like for each here?
I think no. The new query is good, because this is like mutable. But I think you still need to pass the fourth parameter, which is an object that contains like a record, probably. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's what we had before.
yeah. So a record from string to string. Unless you have multiple parameters, so it will be string to read-only array of string. But for now we can just test with the string.
So okay, just to
Yeah, that's fine.
completeness sake, let's do this, and let's do that.
You forgot a comma on the line below. There you go.
Yeah, and also object of keys of new search params, I think.
Object of, say that again. So we don't need the split here, right? Because it doesn't include it anymore.
Correct. And then new query is good, but then I think. By the way, can you enable line enumeration on the left, or we are okay?
Sorry, I'm on. I don't remember how.
Do you need to click on the right?
I think it just like pop over here.
I mean, I can deal without it, so no worries. Maybe someone on the chat can tell us. Because yeah, I wonder why it's not enabled by default. But anyway, I can tell you.
I have a ton of customizations here. So
okay, I see. All good.
I'll figure out later. Lines. Numbers. Off.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there we go. Let me just close and reopen. Oh.
It still didn't work? Or
it might be true.
Oh yeah, it could be true. But
why it doesn't?
But I think it's still if you hover over this setting, like it was highlighted, so maybe it will tell you what are the. Okay, so on was supposed to be correct.
I mean, I see them here, but as soon as I change file, it disappears again.
Unless you have settings that are specific to a directory, like with Prettier, because Prettier also supports that.
But I think we can try to move on without the line numbers. Although it definitely should not be.
Maybe because I was on send mode.
Okay. Yeah. So awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. So where were we? We're in the goto function, right? In the end, but yes. So the only thing that's missing is probably the. Okay, so I would say in line 68 you should make the new query out of new URL search params and then from search params, right? So it's the so we're making a shallow copy, and then we're iterating over new search params, right? And we can actually probably get object.entries because you're targeting anyway like high level, like quite high.
So we new query.
Okay, this is gonna work. What's the target? The target JavaScript that's emitted? It's probably like ES6 plus or.
I check that on tsconfig.
Yeah, this is very important because if we were to, for instance, this object, we do use object.entries anyway. Oh, so it's
Yes.
ES 2015, and do you have polyfills?
I'm not sure really.
Yeah, I mean we can try. Basically, I think object.entries. I will briefly check it, but I'm not sure if this is supported right away on ES6.
Maybe we
But if
use
it
object
is,
entries.
if it is,
Okay.
then yeah, it's gonna be easier.
So should I use object entries here on line 72?
I mean, I would, but I only do that when I know what's the target. I'm just on MDN, so I'm checking.
I think it should work. Oh, but you can also just do, I believe, new query.toString, and the URL search parameters handles it for you.
Oh yeah.
makes sense.
To string will work here in this
Yeah.
particular.
So toString has been overridden.
Yeah.
So we pass the router and new search params. No path name. In this case, we should use path name.
Yeah, I'm missing import, I think.
So that was the wrong import, I believe. You want next navigation.
Yes. Okay. And use search params.
Params. It might be confused because of the routers. They're both sharing the name for router.
Oh, we already have those. So
Why did you need to use search params? Oh yeah, you need to have them here. Okay, fair enough.
and here we need the path name as well. Use path name as well, right? Yes.
Yeah. So there are like I think 4 hooks available from Next Navigation. The only one that we did not use is use params, but actually this is already available on the server component if you use it, right, Max?
Yep.
Yeah. So
from the page arguments.
Yeah. So it's actually like you shouldn't need to use it in most cases.
But that is a good gotcha. We should call out that with the pages router, next.query contains both search params and the dynamic slugs that are in the URL. So if you have Cal.com/slug, that slug will not be in search params, it will be in use params. But the code mod can't really determine where the values are coming from very easily. So I believe now it defaults to using use search params. And the plan is to again leave a comment or two saying, hey, you might want to verify that these are search params and not dynamic slugs. But for now, it won't do that.
Also, it's the same case with get and get all, right?
Yeah.
Because before, how was this multi valueness handled?
I can't particularly remember in pages, but we had this concept of like catch-all routes. So sometimes it would return an array.
Okay, but only if there were actually multiple values.
Yeah.
Or okay. Yeah, I think here with remove query params, it's the same thing. Yeah. Oh, window.location.search will. Is this the recommended way of working?
I'm not pretty sure because.
By the way, did Max disappear? Or
Yeah, he did.
Sorry, I'm here. I'm relocating real quick.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, he turned off the camera. That's why.
Yeah, I think window.location.search should not be used, because we should always rely on whatever is provided by the hooks. But you might, I don't know, when Max comes back, we can ask him.
Okay, I am back. Sorry.
Yeah, so I don't know if you heard, but there was a usage of window.location.search. You still there? I hope it's not
Yeah.
his internet connection. Yeah, okay.
Will this work?
Can you go back to the to one of the constructor usages that was more complex of URL search params? There was one that this one. Okay, so what's this before? So pathname with split won't exist, right?
Yeah.
So here you need to provide use whatever comes from the use search params. And where is s used? Because this is the embed component, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one a pretty complex.
Yeah. Yeah. I think here I have no idea what href is in this context, but on line 717, yeah, we need to pass the search params from URL search params. So that's definitely not okay. Okay. So yeah, this requires another parameter.
Okay, so in this case.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can use the closure. That's
yeah,
true.
you can use the closure, right? So in this case, let's just do this. Yeah, and I think I can refactor the rest of the functions to
yeah, because it's gonna be off. No.
Although I don't know why here these remove query params are outside the closure. I don't see.
Oh, maybe just somebody thought it would be easier.
I think we can just like get this
I don't know
inside.
if your app is like if it was optimized for re-renders.
Yeah, that might be something to do with it.
Yeah, because depending on how many times the component is evaluated, each function will be recreated unless it's fixed with use callback helper from React. So yeah.
And why this is wrong? Okay, we don't have this yet here. Okay, so just look it up the other ones and just copy them. And I think with out of errors on this file. Okay.
Awesome. You run the check types beforehand, right? Were there prompts in any other file than embed?
Mostly embed, which I think is good.
Yeah. Okay. So do you want to give it another run?
Yeah, sure.
Then, I mean, type check is one thing. Actually, we need to run the app, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a good indicator if whatever we already did makes sense on the TypeScript level. There is a question on the chat. Does Peer have a public meeting link? Wanted to ask staff. I think it's something related to Cal.com specifically.
Yeah. I think Pierre's here in the chat, so maybe he can answer.
Okay. Okay. So Max will be back. There were some connection issues. Hello again.
Hello. I think we were just talking about window location search params.
Yes. Do you think it's okay that window.location.search is used? or
So
we
it
should
kind of
always use
depends
hook?
how you're using it. It opts you out of anything the Next router is doing to try to work, or the app router is doing to work with React. So like, for example, use search params as a hook, opts your page out of static rendering and into dynamic rendering, because we can't know the search params if we're generating it statically.
Yeah.
If you use window location, Next won't have that automatic optimization for you, and you might get something like hydration errors or something like that. So if you're being very careful how you read it or potentially write to it, you could be okay, but in general, you should always use the hooks when possible.
Okay, that's a good answer. So don't use it.
Pretty much. Unless you really know what you're doing or you think you do.
Yeah, makes
Alright.
sense.
So we had two errors left with booking a list item. Is it connected with our changes?
It seems like there's missing codes here, so it might be something to do here. Let me just look up the
Oh yeah.
get diff in booking list item.
I can already tell you that unfortunately URL search params does not accept object in the constructor. So this probably needs to be either done by multiple usages of .set, or what would be the alternative?
Okay,
iterator?
so yeah.
Iterator? I think iterator. Yeah.
But why do we have this booking? Like a weird syntax here.
Booking is available.
You have two open backticks at the beginning.
Yeah.
So it was trying to format it as like an expression.
Okay. But we have this.
Yeah, can you check what's actually available and where the prom is? Oh, might it be with the undefined?
Boolean is not assignable to string.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I think the problem is that it's always string right now. So there is no smart casting of types. So this probably needs to be empty instead of undefined.
I believe so.
Or you should remove email from, like, it depends how you then, if you have the ternary logic, so to speak.
Yeah, we can just like add it to it, right?
Yeah,
like
just to explain to people by ternary, it's hard to pronounce that. By ternary logic, I meant that you can have different behavior in your code based on whether first email is in the search params, if it's there and if it's set to empty string, and if it's there and set to something else than empty string. So actually, I think ternary logic should be avoided, and either you glue together the former two cases, or you just don't allow email to be set with an empty string. But yeah, this is something that I think JavaScript or TypeScript can be prone to, because the operator for nullability, which is the negation operator, which is the exclamation mark, will return false for both undefined null, empty string, and zero. And unlike Python, it will be completely fine with empty object and with empty array. So yeah, this is sometimes point of confusion for users of our languages. But yeah, I think we're good then. Is there any other error, or it was just this one?
So far here, I think Yeah, it was mostly it. Just another run just to make sure. And there's a question. Okay, I don't know if it's Spear still in the chat, but we had a question here like about open source software and money in general. Keeping projects going. He wants to create open source project and making them profitable. How did Cal.com go from a repo to getting 120k clients while being open source? Yeah, that's a peer question, to be honest. So he's pretty active on Twitter as well. So, and also I think he's been hosting some office hours on Fridays. I think you can just go to his cal.com/peer profile, and he has some events that you can book and join Fridays. And I don't know if that's I could answer your question. So yeah, now going back to the code, we do hear more errors. I mean that. I think the previous one. Yeah.
I can already tell you that shallow true, like router replace. This one, this is simple because you just remove the last two parameters. Yeah, we don't have like there's no shallowness for the router anymore. So I have no idea how this will change the behavior of the app. Hopefully this will be okay.
It should be about the same. One example is you probably shouldn't be constructing a brand new URL like that. You should probably just use
search params.
Use search params and use path name. For the same reason of if you were just using window and this page ended up being statically built, if it's in an effect, it might be okay, but in general, window location href might be undefined in the SSR step.
So we use this, but router replace still works, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, but it also has just one parameter. So push and replace have just one parameter now.
And so we should construct the full query here as well, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So we don't need this anymore.
Search params is read only, so you need to create a
it cannot be deleted.
Oh yeah.
But I do wonder how this worked before.
So what's the error we have here? Okay. It was
yeah, the deletion cannot it needs to be on
error,
you need
right?
to make a copy. You need to make a copy of that search URL search params object. And what would be href? I think it's just the search params, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same here?
Oh no, just an updated error.
Okay, well, good. And then we have probably still the category of ... bugs, because we could not figure out what's the accepted parameter type, and now TypeScript is complaining.
See that again?
I think, yeah, when you go to the list of errors, we still have this list those errors that actually we weren't able to understand what .parse accepts. So this is probably just removing the ...
So yeah, we can look it up. This.
Yeah, exactly. And wherever it's it's unaccepted by the compiler, then we can just drop it. Here it makes sense. Oh, yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, quick. Yeah,
Because
this is just a string, right?
Yeah, it's a string.
Okay, so
that should ultimately be code moddable, but yeah, you just need to construct the string manually.
Yeah, I think it would be if it wasn't for the tab name, because with the tab name now we need to put it into another temporary search params object, which is modifiable. But then I guess if I were to write a code mod for that, maybe if you if we could add it to the block, like to the block expression above, this would work.
Where? What do you mean?
There is a block that spans from line 56 to 61 right now, and this is where we can put, like, we need to create, because the point is that even if you make a code mod, you need to create the temporary search params object somewhere, and if you create it in the wrong block, for instance on the component level, this might not be accurate because of closures.
Okay, so we need to construct this outside.
I mean,
no, well, I think Greg was just talking about if the code model.
In general, like, you need to always take into account the closures.
Okay.
But what you did is fine.
Yeah, because here, when you run actually the on-click handler, well, this actually not the state will be still correct, but it's a closed variable, right? So actually on-click will be different on each invocation of the React component lifecycle. And it complains because of types. It needs to be a string.
Is tab name not a string?
Yeah, because it will be undefined. Yeah. So yeah, if tab name is not set, then yeah, don't. Exactly.
Okay, that works. I think we lost Max again. Okay, so I can also look up for all shallow route.
Yeah, correct.
I mean.
Oh.
Yeah, we do.
Not every occurrence is actually the one we were looking for, but
I think this is trying to expand of the link props from.
Oh yeah.
From Next.js, right? Link props, yeah, type of link, yeah. But the link element doesn't receive shallow as well anymore, right? Or don't we use next link at all?
I think you can still use it. But where's the error? Oh, I think Max is.
I think it's not erroring yet, I think.
Yet.
But yeah, we do have some shallow true here and there.
I think where the undefined was, it's like here. Oh, so it's the same thing that we had.
Yeah, I think, does it make sense to, like, well, I mean, yeah, from the code organization view, maybe we can just create a
helper, or
a helper hook that just receive an object
Yeah.
and replaces the path name with a new search parameters.
Actually, it would be nice if Max came online. Oh, we have him. Hello again. Are you there? Are you
Yeah,
frozen?
it has like
Yeah.
low connection.
Yeah,
Low
because
connection.
actually this could be something that is part of Next.js API. Um,
Yeah, it's a pretty common pattern, I think. Just going from object to a query parameter.
yeah,
But since we are now using primitives, we need to make our own helpers.
yeah, that's true.
We lost them again.
All right. Yeah, that happens sometimes, but yeah, I think we can continue. By the way, can you? There's one thing that I saw in the errors. This is how do you call it? The locales.
Okay, let me look it up. Current bookings, router.
Oh, Max's Wi-Fi is cooperative right now. So
Yeah, I mean
yes,
we're
at least
pretty.
I think he will not rejoin. But thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Max. Oh, this is one you say, right?
Yeah, exactly. So basically, right now, all the locally related properties are just gone. The rationale is that you can actually use params, like the server side params,
Mm-hmm.
to understand what's the current locally. So basically, you need to restructure your paths. So if you need locally, then you put that into the URL in the end. Or you can
Okay.
actually make your own solution, which uses the request headers, and you basically read what's the accepted locally from
Mhm.
the user. That could also work. But yeah, right now, because I checked this code base earlier, I think this basically allows you to list the locales on the page. Yeah, exactly. This is the place.
I see. Yeah, this is gonna be a hard one for us
No.
because we do depend a lot of locales. Mm,
Oh, you're also. It's interesting because if you go to this, do you see this using pages router?
mhm.
Uh, this this one. I don't know what's the name of this component. But yeah, if you switch to app router, then you have the how it works in the new routing.
Mm.
Oh, I think here they're actually saying that you should definitely rely on what the user sends in the request. And then redirect based on it, probably.
Yeah, I think in this context, what this is doing, we do have a drop down with all available locales,
Yeah.
and previously we used to just get them all from the router itself. That way, the user can choose what's his preferred locale. So we need to figure out a way to get this data elsewhere. Because also these examples assume that we it does have some
Oh,
hard,
that you know what locally you support. Correct.
yeah, beforehand.
Yeah. But I suppose you can get the list of all the worldwide support locally from some library, right? And I think this is what Next.js used to have.
Yeah, we do use. mm,
Yeah, sadly, this change is actually not really code moddable.
Yeah, this is a pretty.
And
pretty
yeah, this is because this is business logic related, and you need to make that choice. So yeah.
Okay, so this is a breaking change.
Correct.
This is the library we use, and they say if you're using Pages, then you can check this out. If you're using app directory, there's no need for this library, so you can directly use the
Yeah.
this one. Okay.
Yeah, because you don't need those bindings probably. Correct. But I think now how important is maybe it's the wrong phrase. Basically, if we don't migrate this router here to like in this general view file or whatever file that is to use the next navigation router, we should be good to go, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
By the way, do you want to attempt actually running the development mode of the app and see how far we are?
Sure.
Because I don't know how all those things here, like all those bugs are prevalent, but maybe some of them will not follow the happy path of the app.
Yeah. Yeah, we just need to see how far we can go here.
Yeah. I think the initial, something I would call the bootstrap routine of this app is that it moves you to event types or event pages.
Oh, we haven't solved the app providers.
Yeah.
Here,
So
get theme provider props. Okay, so I think we're just missing the import.
Yeah.
Let's.
Okay, so it works like it will re-update the dependencies. Sorry, not the dependencies, the build. Well. Okay, something did work.
This is weird. Okay, we're getting seen.
Is it connected with the upgrade to Next 13.4, or this is something unrelated?
I'm not really sure. So let me just start this. Okay. Okay, we do have something here.
We have some issues, but oh, it's because of Zod. It's from parsing.
Yeah. So we're getting undefined search params. So yeah, I saw
Is it
this.
because we are missing something that was not passed?
Oh,
Because the path you had was like it was just the regular params, like the regular route, without like this one. You see, there are no search params whatsoever.
yeah, it is undefined.
Oh
But
yeah, because we're
this
in the
is-
pages directory. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
but still, can you go to the offending code?
Yeah, here we are.
Because it's fine if it's undefined because it will run into the fallback. But I think the point is that status based on line 47 or actually 48 status has to exist, and if you go to the URL, yeah, like it's /booking/upcoming, but there is no status, which means that
Yeah,
oh no, actually
maybe
it is, but upcoming it should be. Oh, okay, I think I get it. It's not use search params, it's just use params in this particular case.
okay.
You get why. This is what Max said, that beforehand query contained also params. And now, okay, so can you see what params are actually in type? Okay, so it's okay. So now we have discrepancy of types because this is just an object. So here, just instead of the fallback, just provide empty object. Yeah,
We just pass the search params.
an empty object, in case it doesn't exist temporarily. But
But
actually, no, actually, it has to
it's
exist
not.
because it's server.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
no,
Okay,
no.
okay. Sorry, my bad.
So in theory, we should need
Yeah,
this.
this should be.
Okay, we do have a null thing here.
Okay, I did not expect that. Yeah,
This.
so we can use the fallback, but actually on fallback it will also yield an error.
Yeah, because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So we can go back to our ternary here and just
can we make a use effect here? Actually, we could do that, but we could use effect for the status, right? So when a search or when params are initialized,
it works.
When you go to unconfirmed, what happens? Because I don't want it to go to the default.
Yeah, it's all good here.
Okay, good.
So just let me check the code differences. Here we are on booking status. This is it. So this is the before and this is the after.
Yeah. So yeah, we don't have it's ready. So yeah, we need to check if actually it's not search params, it's params now. If this is initialized already. But this is actually interesting because
Yeah,
I wonder. Okay, yeah, it makes sense because the router actually will require some time to boot up for the pages directory. Okay, so it makes sense. But I wonder why, and this is actually a question to you, why the Zod codec, is it codec? How is it called in Zod? Because I use FPT, IOTS. So
yeah, it's SOD uses schemas.
Okay.
So you define a schema and you parse a certain
so it's
value against it.
Yeah, it's similar to then. Well, it has changed actually because I used there used to be something like, I mean, still is called IOTS, And now the main developer of FPTS and IOTS has joined the Effect.js team, and I think they also call it schema right now.
Okay.
So the question is that in that schema, the enum is not nullable, right?
Yeah.
So you need to provide something. Yeah.
As far as I know, the interface is just a
Yeah.
record.
So this is not. The type is not correct, but I think Max said something that you can tweak those types to be nullable by some command.
I think we can just redeclare this to make return params or no.
Yeah, but then you'll overwrite
Yeah, no.
next modules. Yeah. But
I'm
I
not
guess
doing that here.
Yeah, you could. Provide an alternate definition in a DTS file, correct? Oh, you have packages that slash types. Is it next? Correct. But that's next alf.
But we are inside navigation, so okay, so let me just
this next slash navigation, correct. So now we'll have two competing definitions, right? And the union of them will return params or like params or null.
I think we broke it.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
Any now. Okay, let me just.
Or maybe the TypeScript language server actually crashed. Yeah, that happens. And the bigger the project, sadly, the higher possibility that it will eventually crash.
Yeah,
there is one overload. So I think it's. When you use the params, did you reference it correctly? What they are? Oh, this is any.
What do you mean?
So,
this.
Yeah, it's unresolved.
Yeah, makes sense. So should I just import it or copy it?
Just copy it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be faster.
Yeah. Yeah, we got it.
Nice.
No, and now if we're trying to.
But now the question that I have from the business point of view. So first of all, the status could be nullable in the query schema, right? And then you could maybe. Could you show me where status is used? Like, because it's just in this component, right?
Yeah, we use it to query to.
Yeah, so filter. Because this query is like a lazy evaluated object. Okay, so because you can actually, I mean, this is the regular React trick that you can just use effect and use the async functions only when status is ready, right? So because right now you default to upcoming, so like I don't know the details of the TRPC being used here, but I would assume that there is a possibility that actually the query is done for the upcoming events, and then in the next cycle you're querying for the proper status.
Yeah, I mean, I think going back to the get diff, that you mentioned didn't happen because we were waiting for the router, so
yeah,
the query was not running until the router is ready. So in this case, I think we can.
I mean, it works, right? It's just not like super clean, but
If we wait for search params, then the first render won't query anything, and then it will just.
So that's
if we so unconfirm and we refresh, then no, it shouldn't be like a.
Yeah, I get it. So it's a feature of TRPC that actually you can make like this requirement that it won't. Oh, okay. Here's values undefined. Okay. But I think you have more experience with TRPC, so I trust you. But it's
let me just.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I learned something today.
This is enable. Okay, so if we do have search params. Somehow waiting for search param doesn't work. I mean, yeah, this needs some investigation, but
okay.
I think we can live with this for now.
But I think based on TRPC, this is like a regular pattern that you would use. Like you would not necessarily use like define this query in the use effect, right? You just it's a hook, correct?
Yeah, it's just a hook, and it handles the waiting for the actual data.
Yeah, makes sense.
Although, let me see, I refresh here, and I will spec here a call for upcoming and then one for unconfirmed, but I don't see the upcoming one, so I think we're good.
Awesome. By the way, we have 10 minutes till the end of the scheduled time. So yeah, the question is, how did you like the experience of the extension?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I really enjoy the dry run approach. It feels way less destructive, and also I like the fact that you can actually save history of previous dry runs, so you can compare with certain changes. And yeah, I feel like you're doing like 90% of the work with these code mods. But as you said before, there will always be some caveats. There will be always be some minor stuff or very business specific logic that we need to address. But
yeah, correct.
That is expected anyways with any kind of code mod.
Yeah. Awesome. Did you? Was there something you did not like, as in like experience-wise?
I mean, other than the weirdness of certain syntaxes or like the spread operators and stuff like that. Other than that, I don't think I have any complaints really.
And what about formatting?
Yeah, the formatting in our case, I get that you're using tsmorph and it has like its own formatting as well. I think it doesn't really care about formatting.
Yeah, because it's
Uh,
a compiler tool. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, there is
Um,
a. Sorry for
yeah,
interrupting you.
yeah. Alex is
Yeah,
uh,
has a question.
asking her questions. He says, "Imagine you have a magic wand. Don't worry about feasibility. How can we make the next better?" I think like 10x better. I mean, the perfect experience for me will be like just do it for me, right? But
Yeah.
realistically speaking, um, formatting was an issue because I mean, you made the PR, you push, and or CI said, okay, this is not the correct formatting, which it is a bump we have to go over. Maybe I don't know how hard will be like try to respect the original formatting, regardless, because there will be projects that use prettier or other that do not care at all.
Yeah.
So I get the focus on not being too opinionated about that. But yeah, what else? I think. I think more code mods, and that will be my first ask here. And also, I think I saw this whenever I saw these hooks. I don't know what these hooks are, and I don't know if maybe we can run Jan format here.
Yeah, we could probably do that. But yeah, ideally, yeah, we'll work on a feature that actually respects your previous settings among any other linters. So we'll support that firstly. But yeah, hooks will be probably like a broader feature that you could use to. I don't know. You can even call some executables that send some information somewhere. So that was the point of it. Oh, and now the question from Alex about time saving. How much time do you think it could save you?
Definitely, yeah, it can save from a couple hours to a full work day in here, because if we had to do this manually, it will be very, very time consuming. In this case, we get like 90% of the way there, and the last 10% might be just fixing some specific details like the one we just saw. But overall, it's pretty impressive, and also it's like a big plus for me, the fact that it is right here on VS Code, so we can. I don't know how invasive should sound, but it will be like the fact that you're maybe read their package JSON and see, okay, it seems like you're using Next version 13.4. We do have this code mod for you. Can you want to try a dry run and just like maybe some suggestions, because to improve discoverability. But yeah, other than that, I'm pretty happy with it.
Awesome. I don't know if you have any other questions from the chat, but
No more questions right now.
Oh, hey, Alex has joined. Hello.
Just hello there. Just wanted to say thank you, Omar and Greg, and also Max, who's not here anymore with us. That was such a great and fun live stream. I think we should do it more often. Yeah, we're trying to get back to the schedule we had before, so there will be more live stream for sure. Absolutely. And just my personal experience at Facebook, we had this experience with CodeMod that's it has compounding impact. So over time, as you bring more conformity to your code base and more type safety, you can you can be more aggressive by creating and running more and more code mods. And yeah, so we're very excited about the feature requests that you had, the ideas that you came up with during this call. We're going to add more and more automations and improving the developer experience. And yeah, so if there is no more kind of questions or anything that you want to share.
Yeah, I'll just give a minute to see if chat has a final question. If not, then we can wrap it up here.
Yeah, I'd like to say that it was also a great experience for me. It was the first time I was well, actually it was you that was streaming, so I just joined. But yeah, it's the first time I was actually in a stream with other people, and yeah, it was a very exciting experience, and thank you for that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, pretty relaxing. Sometimes you can get some interesting questions and conversations here.
Absolutely.
And that's the other thing about open source. You can just build in public and get some pretty interesting feedback.
Oh, that's
yeah.
cool.
I was just surfing through Cal.com/open and looking at all the metrics and all the details. It was super cool, very inspiring. Almost all of our stuff is also in the open, and definitely a firm believer of open source. And I think that's the way to go, especially for dev tools.
Yeah, kudos to Pierre and Bailey. Go all the way, being as open as possible.
Awesome.
All right, so I think we can wrap it up here. Thanks you guys a lot for the support.
Of course.
It was pretty interesting to say the least. I'll have some homework to do with this, but once we have all this ready, let you know, and maybe we can take another look.
Yeah, of course. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Omar. Thank you, Greg, and have a wonderful rest of the night.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah,
thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.